So I've been doing this podcast for just over 3 years and I really want to bring it live for you all. So I'm going to need a favor from you. If you're interested in seeing the Savvy Wallet podcast live, please register your interest by signing up to my mailing list with the link in the description of this episode. Thank you so much for your support so far.
The truth is that after the whole America ordeal, I hit rock bottom in my life. So I was on trying anything. And speaking is what worked, but I did music, I tried modeling. I was just trying to get out of these circumstances. So I was of the mindset at that stage, by any means. And that's what made me do the doing. Crazy because I couldn't speak English when I came to this country. And now I teach people how to speak English really well.
So how many schools were you working at your peak?
June 2022, I did 2 schools a day, Monday to Friday. I made the most money I've ever made that month. But that was such a turning point for me because I realized that wasn't worth it. And I thought, okay, I need to figure out a way to make this money in another way. This skill can change your life. My ability to speak under pressure has opened all these doors for me.
So, okay, let's move to The Apprentice. So what's the story behind you applying twice?
The reason I applied for The Apprentice was to inspire people. I did a TikTok that went crazy that said, I've won The Apprentice. I went on there to demonstrate how good I was at communicating. People are calling it the best pitch in Apprentice history.
Wow. Were there any kind of moments that were really memorable for you that we didn't get to kind of see?
I see some like former candidates and current candidates complain about the show. They warn you, bro.
What warn you about what?
You're not defined by where you come from.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big message that I always want to tell people.
Like you have to be able to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
When you grow up in ends, you don't realize it when you're confident, but you have an audacity to do things that ordinarily most people wouldn't be willing to do.
Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Atto. We have a special guest in the building. We have Frederik, who's an award-winning global keynote speaker, TEDx public speaking coach, co-founder of communication coaching business Believe in Greatness, former professional athlete representing Italy, and was a candidate on season 19 of The Apprentice. Frederik, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Happy to be here, man.
I'm happy to have you, man. I told you I'm a fan of, Apprentice. So I was watching you every week on The Apprentice and you did very well.
Thank you.
Congratulations for getting on there. I know it must have been very, tough to go on there, especially under pressure. But we're going to explore that a lot more as well as talk about your journey. So for those that may not be familiar with you, could you share a bit about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Frederik. I'm a global keynote speaker. Similarly, like you said, I think you did a great job with the introduction. Former professional athlete, very shy and introverted. Moved to the UK when I was about 11 years old, not speaking any English. Found athletics, which was great. And then things got quite difficult during COVID. So I had to pivot. I worked as a delivery driver for some time, did a few security shifts, Deliveroo, just makeshift stuff. And then I stumbled into the world of speaking. And recently been on The Apprentice.
Yeah, and we're gonna explore that because it's very interesting that you kind of got yourself from somebody who was a delivery driver, which there's no shame in that, by the way, to get yourself onto Apprentice, and even you're still a speaker. And actually, for people that don't know, so I read an article. Speaking was one of your weaknesses,
Absolutely.
right? Which is crazy, and now that's become your biggest strength. So people can flip it around, right?
100%, and it's crazy because I couldn't speak English when I came to this country, and now I teach people how to speak English really well.
That's mad. That's mad, man. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the time in Italy, right? How would you describe your upbringing in Italy, and how has it shaped your perspective on life, business, and money?
It's a great question. I think in Italy, for context, I was in Milan and born in the mid-90s. When my family moved to Italy from Ghana, they were the only black family in the area. So they hadn't seen anything like that. Mum would tell me stories about people seeing them at the bus stop, slowing down, and then just staring at them. Or old ladies walking past them and doing the Jesus piece, thinking, yo, what's going on here? So I was born into that. Went to school in Italy. Primary school, I was the only black kid in my school. And I think that just made me not very confident. I lacked confidence just because, number one, there was no one that looked like me that was doing well. Apart from on telly, I would see Will Smith and 50 Cent on a regular basis.
Okay.
And eventually Balotelli. So these were like my 3 idols. And then beyond that, little things like on Valentine's Day, I'd get 0 Valentine's Day cards.
Man.
Bro, it would hurt, man.
Yeah, I can imagine the pain.
Oh, pain. 8 years old, and all my other friends, I say, I got 3, 4, 5 cards. And year after year, I'd have 0. So little things like that just compounded into me being this introverted, shy kid.
Gosh. So then for you, right? So you were a shy kid in Italy, and I guess when you moved to the UK, how was that for you? How was the adjustment moving into the UK from, somewhere like where you feel like, you were alone essentially?
It was really strange, I'll be honest, because we moved to Brixton, of all places. And when you live in Italy, all you know of London is Oxford Circus, Buckingham Palace, the really nice parts. And that's where I thought I'd be living. So when we landed at Stansted Airport, got coached to Victoria, I was pretty excited. Little did I know, I had to get on the tube, got off at Brixton, pre-gentrified Brixton. Bro. So initially I was happy because I saw a number of people that looked like me. But the challenging part was that within a couple weeks, I got robbed. And then that made it really difficult because stuff like that didn't happen in Italy. And of course, the person that robbed me was a black person, was a black boy. So then it was such a weird situation of, these people that I've been seeking after my whole life now don't like me. I go into school and I'm in South London, you're in secondary school, so I'd get roasted for pronouncing words incorrectly, etc. Again, by people that look like me. So all of a sudden, it had a weird kind of identity crisis. Yeah. Furthermore, we were a family of 4 living out of 1 bedroom. So when you're asking me what perception did I have of money, I just thought that money was just hard to come by, really and truly. But again, at the time, I always had food on the table, always had a roof over my head, even though with one family living out of 1 bedroom and there were other families in other bedrooms, I just assumed everyone else lived that way as well. Yeah. Because that's it, Yeah. So I moved from Italy to the UK and I'm thinking, this is how they live in the UK. It's a bit mad, but it is what it is. So yeah, from a very early stage, I knew that I shouldn't ask my parents for money. So then I would go out my way to go and get it. So I would be the kid in school selling the Lucozade, selling the sweets, because I didn't want to bother my parents now asking them for pocket money.
When do you think you kind of find yourself? Because you said you had a bit of an identity crisis, right? When do you think, obviously, coming from Italy to the UK and then kind of struggling with obviously adjusting here, when do you think you kind of found yourself?
Right, the truth is a couple of years ago.
Really? Okay.
100%. Because also representing Italy as a sprinter just further reinforced the fact that I was Italian. But then whenever I'm in Italy, I'm not Italian. You know what I mean? So if people ask me now where you from, I say I'm from Ghana.
Okay.
I was born in Italy, but I'm from Ghana.
Yeah.
Well, if you ask me a couple years ago, I would be confused. I'll be honest. I'll be like, okay, where should I start? I'm Italian. I grew up in Italy. My parents are from Ghana. I'm in London now. Whereas now I know I'm from Ghana. But that only happened when I went to Ghana in 2021.
Okay.
Did Dirty December with the man them. Okay. Reconnected with the land, and then that to me was just a reinforcement. Like, bro, you're Ghanaian. You just so happened to be born in Italy.
Okay. I like that. It's so interesting that you found that and you found yourself. And I think, to be fair, a lot of people struggle with identity, but it's whatever you kind of choose your identity to be. I think at the end of the day, right, it's an important choice, right? Absolutely. So, we talked obviously about you moving to the UK. How did, the pro athlete part happen? How did you kind of get into that? What motivated you to pursue that?
So I was in school, and like I said, I was this introverted kid. And then I found that to not be a victim in school, you have to be a character. So I would kind of put on this facade. But truthfully, I was quite insecure. But one thing that I was good at was running. And every single sports day, I would win. Like, super win. There's a couple of videos on YouTube. And then my PE teacher, I owe a lot to him. His name's Mr. Silly. He used to represent Togo in sprinting back in the day. And he said to me, you've got potential. I think you should go for it. I was a bit reluctant. So I did 1 year of football. As a young kid, you just do football. Then I did 1 year of athletics. And in my first year of athletics, I went to a competition called English Schools, which was on Sky Sports. All my friends got to watch it. Started to get kit from Adidas. And then my decision was made from there.
Okay, so that's how you kind of got into it from school. Talk to me about the character thing, right? So when character, is that like trying to pretend to be like, yeah, talk to me about it. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, so it's interesting because if you were to ask my secondary school friends, they will probably tell you that I was confident or I seemed confident, but I wasn't.
Okay.
So what happened is, let's say if we go through it in stages, year 7, year 8, I'm still adapting, I'm still learning, and I'm getting robbed, I'm getting laughed, I'm getting teased. Year 9, I'm like, forget it. I'm no longer going to be the victim. I'm going to put forward this larger than life persona to try and balance my insecurities.
Okay.
So what I would do is I would class clown.
Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say? Get into fights.
Right, okay.
But it's not me.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not me. But I'm just trying to show people, look, I'm not a victim.
Yeah, don't try it with me, intimidating people. And the fact that, and I guess you probably became popular when you're like that, and then people don't want to try it with the popular kid because then they're not popular anymore. So, okay. Okay, that's interesting. It's interesting that you, thinking back, that's what you did. And to be fair, I would argue that a lot of people kind of do that, right? You're young, you don't really know much about yourself. You're trying to figure out like who you are, and also you want to be the cool kid. Everybody wants to be the cool kid at school, right? Like that's just normal, right? Absolutely. So cool. So you specialized in running, right? What type of running? Sprinting, right?
Yes.
Sprinting. So was it 100 meters, 200 meters?
All the range. So I made a team in the 4x4 relay, but I did 100 and 200 as well. 100
and 200. Okay, cool. And then the pro contract part, how did that happen? How did you go from somebody who wasn't even interested in it to getting into it to, getting a pro contract?
One thing about track, which is good, is it is a meritocracy most of the time. So as a new kid, I go to a competition and I run a time. That time then gets posted in the rankings and I'm ranked 4th in the country. Whether I'm from London, whether I'm from Colchester, whether I'm from Birmingham, Newcastle, if you run this time and it gets posted online, the stats say you are the 4th fastest in the country. Whereas something like football, you could be the 4th best footballer your age in the country, but if you don't get scouted, if you don't know the right people, you might not get the opportunity.
Okay, wow.
So that was the thing that I liked about track, that it seems as though, okay, wow, I run the time, it gets posted online, and then I just can clearly see where I'm at. So I had a really good start. I went to America when I was 15 to race, and I met Tyson Gay. That was sick. Did a bit of training with him. I assumed I'd get a pro contract shortly after, because a lot of my friends did. They went to European juniors and did really well. But I had to wait a really, really long time. So I signed my first contract when I was 21.
Wow.
7 years after I first started.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And these times I took a gap year, convinced my Ghanaian dad to hold off. So Dad, give me 1 year. No uni, no work. I'm gonna make it pro. And I didn't. And then I did 1 year at Middlesex University. And I only went Middlesex because I could train in North London, and I literally had nothing to do with what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was just focused on athletics. Didn't really work out. Then I went University of Hertfordshire, and I'm balancing training with athletics, and it took a really, really long time. What I always say now is, as long as it takes, if there's a voice in your head that tells you you can do it, listen to that voice.
Yeah.
And after 7 years, I signed my deal.
Yeah. What do you think it took out of you to get to that level, and why did you kind of stay committed for 7 years? Because that's a long time,
It's a long time. Bro, athletics taught me so much and so many things that I now use in business. So it taught me about delayed gratification, skill acquisition, discipline. And these are all things that I use now. The reason I stuck with it that long is because I knew I could do it, bro. And some people might be able to relate. There are times when you can do it. There's like a voice in your head and you can do it. But for whatever reason, it hasn't materialized. But this is not your best form. This is not the best version of yourself. And even when you do well, you're like, okay, I could do better. And if I've done well doing this, if I was to put in even more effort, I can do even better. So yeah, it was just that willingness to prove to myself that I was right all along. That's what kept me going.
Amazing. Okay, so you got your first pro contract. So what kind of happened next? What was like, the next thing for you then?
So
getting it?
Yeah, so I signed my deal, which was great. Team in Italy. So I'm back and forth from Italy on a regular basis now, which is amazing. I loved going back. And I'm traveling Europe, which is amazing. Went on different TV shows. I went on Ninja Warrior.
You went on. Yeah, I think I remember hearing.
Yeah.
Wait, is that as part of the just this, or you just decided to just apply to it yourself?
So they reached out to me. I think
Okay.
they saw that I was an
Wow.
athlete. They thought I was doing whilst they reached out to
Okay.
me. And
Wow.
they said, "Do you want to do Ninja Warrior?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool."
UK
let's do
version?
it. UK version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
interesting.
didn't do very well.
I need to go check that out. I'm gonna go check that
I
out.
didn't do very well, but it was good. It was a good time.
Yeah.
like I'm running, getting paid, traveling the world, doing Ninja Warrior,
And that's what you were doing full time,
That's
right?
what I was doing,
Okay.
bro.
It paid that much. Wow.
It's very performance incentive.
Okay.
So if you run well in one race, the winner could get £10,000 and fifth place could get £500.
Right. Okay.
That's how it works.
Okay. So is that how it works?
That's how it works. That's how it works. So for example, my best year 2018, 2019, I was able to get quite a lot. And then 2020, when COVID started happening, I was still able to rely on what I got
Okay.
during those years.
Okay.
So yeah, and also in Italy, the system is different to the UK. In Italy, you have teams, just like in football, that will buy and sell and trade athletes, and then they give you a salary as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
whereas in
Was
the
it like
UK
different sponsorship teams or something like that?
No,
or
it's
was
literally
it-
just a team, like a football team. Whereas in the UK, you have to be
Yeah.
sponsored by a big brand to get that money. In other European countries, that's not the case. So like in Spain, there is a Barcelona athletics team.
Yeah.
In Portugal, there's a Benfica,
Okay.
Lisbon. Yeah.
That's crazy. So what would you say is like some of the memorable highlights for you during that time as a, pro athlete?
I think I loved racing in Switzerland. Switzerland was always good because the tracks had quite high altitude, which when the air is a bit thinner, you get to sprint faster.
Yeah.
So that was always good. And then always amazing views. And that's what it really was for me, man. And traveling back to Italy was always amazing because people that knew me as a kid were able to come watch me.
Yeah.
Being able to run on television and my family tuning in. That was always the highlight.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. We've all experienced buyer's remorse, spending money on something and instantly wishing you could take it back. Leaving your business funds in a regular current account is just like that regretful purchase. It's a missed opportunity. The money's sitting there doing nothing when it could be earning interest and working for you. There's so many ways to grow a business, and using a high interest savings account is one of the lowest effort wins you can get. With rising business expenses like staff costs, travel, marketing, and software subscriptions, why not let your business savings do some of the heavy lifting? So I made the switch to Tide's instant savings account, which earns me up to 4.38% AER Variable on my business savings automatically, no extra admin required. The more you save, the higher the rate. So my money's always working at its best. I can access my business funds instantly with no withdrawal fees, and you don't even have to bank with Tide to use it. You can open an account with just £1 and it's FSCS protected up to £85,000. And because I know how valuable this could be for my community, I've partnered with Tide to bring you an exclusive offer. Get a £100 bonus when you open and fund a Tide's instant savings account with £5,000 within the first 30 days, and use my code SavvyWallet. Plus, for the first 6 months, new members can earn up to 4.38% AER Variable on their business savings. Setting up your Tide instant savings account takes just 3 simple steps. Tap the link in the episode description, enter the code SavvyWallet, and start putting your money to work. New members receive up to 4.38% AER free for 6 months. For the full offer, T's and C's, visit tide.co/savings. Rate correct as of the 1st of April 2025. And I want to know, and you kind of mentioned it, right, a little bit earlier, right, like in terms of athletics, how do you feel like it shaped your mindset? Especially like in like now that you're doing business, like can you explore that a bit more, and not just business but just even in life as well?
Athletics was everything. Athletics is the reason why I am the person I am today. And I always say that I used to watch Pokemon back in the day, and athletics was like my first version, and then I evolved.
Yeah.
But I had to be Frederick the athlete to then be the person I am today. And look, my dream was to get to the Olympics, and I didn't do it. So even though I was pro and I ran on the circuit, I didn't really achieve my dream. But the beautiful thing about that is that I now often tell young people, go for your dreams, regardless of whether you make it or not, it's a W. Because you're either going to make it or you're going to learn so many things that will then help you on the next phase, on the next thing that you do.
Yeah.
So athletics also kept me away from drugs, alcohol, the streets. Even at university, I was super disciplined. When everyone's doing whatever, I would have to go be in bed because I got training the next day. So just that discipline of knowing that I am an athlete and treating my body as such played a huge part in my mindset and the reason that I do what I do today.
Amazing, amazing. So then what happened, right? Doing well, like you say, 2018, 2019 was one of your best years, doing well, still young. Like, yeah, what happened?
COVID.
Okay.
in 2020. So after 2019, I won a national title, and then I had 5 different scholarship offers to go to America, which I took. I was so excited, and I was this close to going to America, bro. So I literally said my goodbyes. I packed my bags. I was just about to sell my car, and then I got an email saying, "Look, COVID's happening, so we're gonna have to postpone it." I was supposed to go out in the January of 2021. And was it 2020? Oh, 2020. So I'm meant to go out in the January of 2020. And then COVID happened. So they're like, look, you're not coming out in Jan, you're going to come out around March.
Yeah.
But then things got even worse. So then they're like, you can't come out. And I thought, okay, cool. That's a bit of a shame, but that's fine. In the April, my team says, we're going to stop paying you.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, cool. And then I still had a sponsor that was paying me not a lot, but at least I could go to training, go to physio, do all my stuff. 2019, I was national champ. 2020, I got COVID and I couldn't train for about 6 months. So when the Olympics got postponed from 2020 to 2021, I was nowhere near making the team.
Yeah.
And then the final straw was the sponsor said, yeah, we're done. So I've gone from almost going to America, getting a decent amount of money, to not going to America, getting 0 money.
Yeah.
So then I just had to get a job. So at the time, the world was now recovering from COVID, and I got a job as a delivery driver. That's one of the many gigs that I did. The delivery driver one is the one that lasted longest. I did some security shifts. I did Deliveroo. I was just hustling, just trying to make ends meet. But I'm still training.
Yeah.
The only thing is now, before I was training full time. Now I'm doing a morning shift at Sainsbury's. So I'm waking up at 5, doing a Sainsbury's from 6 to 2, going home, having lunch, and then going to training.
Wow.
Bro, by the time I'm going to training, I'm done. Before I even get to training, I'm falling asleep. I'm tired.
Yeah.
So of course I'm not training as well. And if you don't train as well, you don't run as well.
Yeah.
And bro, my performances were just declining. And I kept hanging on, as you know, I persevere.
Yeah.
Bro, there was one race where I was in Italy. I had the fastest personal best going into this race, 200 meters. It was a regional championship in Italy. And I was really excited. There's a certain feeling when you're the favorite. Everyone's looking at you like, okay, he's here. 200 meters. So I came out the bend first, and I even reserved energy. I finished the race 7th.
What?
Bro, I can't find the video. I wish I had the video.
Yeah.
Bro, I was done. And at the time, the speaking thing was just picking up. So I had a race on a Saturday. On a Monday, I was in Leicester. On a Tuesday, I was in Nottingham. On the Thursday, I was in Bournemouth. On the Friday, I flew to Italy. On the Saturday, I raced. Terrible race. I ran as slow as I did when I first started athletics and I was in school.
Wow.
And I remember I was at the airport coming back. I was like, bro, you have to be real with yourself. If someone said to you, I got a race on Saturday, but I traveled all over the country doing speaking engagements, and then I ran slow, what would you tell him? You tell him he's not serious.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I need to make a decision. Am I going to keep doing this track thing, or am I going to see where this speaking thing is going because it's picking up momentum? And yeah, that was my last race.
Wow. How did you... That's such a tough... What made you let it go? Why did you let it go? That's tough to let it go, considering you wanted to go to Olympics.
Yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow. Fortunately, I could see potential in the speaking thing, but it was a super tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But also, that's why I ended it abruptly, because I knew that if I didn't, I'd probably still be doing track now, bro.
You think so?
I'd probably...
Yeah, you're still quite young. Yeah, you're in your 20s. Yeah.
20s. And I have friends who are in their early 30s and they're still going. Track is one of those things where every year is going to be your year, but then for whatever reason it isn't. And then you just try next year. And there's always a championship. There's always a... So it takes your years, bro. And I always just said to myself, I don't necessarily want to be that guy. So yeah, man, that race was just... I snapped out of it. And someone born in 2004 beat me, bro. So I guess what, we're into 25. So yeah, they're 20.
Yeah.
But,
okay,
broski, I was born in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
You're born in 2000. You're like almost 10 years younger than me. And you just beat me in a race. That was just like passing of the guard.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's what gave me the decision to...
Wow.
Cool it.
Gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
So you said you were doing a few things. Obviously, you went into delivery driving, right? Whilst you were still trying to run, and you were also like speaking, right? How did you kind of, get there? And as well, the fact that you like got dropped like from the team, how are you like supporting yourself financially during this kind of period?
So literally Sainsbury's. So I would do Sainsbury's maybe 4 days a week, and I'd be getting around £1,000 from Sainsbury's. Then I'll do a few security shifts here and there, and in the evenings I'll do Deliveroo. And that was literally how I was supporting myself
2 jobs
financially. Yeah, 2-3 jobs, just hustling. If anyone had little jobs coming here and there, they would let me know, and I would do them. So that's how I was supporting myself financially.
That's great.
And the transition was, there's this infamous shift when I was in the delivery van, and it was snowing. It's hard enough to walk when you're snowing, let alone drive a fat van. And I was working at Sainsbury's in Dulwich. So I'm driving around South London in the delivery van. And that day, the van just kept skidding. I had like 4 near misses, bro. I was like, bro, I'm going to smash this van into someone's car. And I remember I sat there during my lunch break, and I thought, I don't want to do this. Furthermore, I was getting told off by the managers for being late to my deliveries. And I was trying to explain to them that I'm struggling to even drive. So whether I'm late or not, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, they were getting on to me. And I've always had a bit of a problem. I don't know why. Maybe it stems from my Italian days. I've always had a bit of a problem with like authority. And when people tell me what to do, it annoys me. Yeah, it always has. So in that specific moment, it annoyed me. Already, my self-esteem and my ego were in the gutter.
Yeah.
Then these people that are managers are acting like they're better than me, and they're shouting at me, and then I'm almost scared in the van. So I thought to myself, I need to get out of here, man. But what else can I do? And the main thing that I struggled with was my ability to speak to people.
Yeah.
And this is in 2021. So I said to myself, I need to get better at speaking.
Yeah.
How can I get better at speaking? In athletics, if I need to work on my start, all I do is I do a lot of block starts, and then I get better. If I need to get better in the gym, I just do the exercise a lot, and I get better. So I thought, to get better at speaking, I just need to speak more.
Yeah.
How am I going to do that? I went to different events around speaking. I inquired with a few speaking coaches, and ultimately I said, let me just try and go to schools and speak.
Yeah.
So I emailed some schools around my area to ask if I could speak for free. In exchange, I just need like a testimonial of you saying it's good. And at the time, I wasn't even trying to be a speaker. I was just trying to speak more. So some schools said yes, and I did a few of those. And then there was this training session, and this is when, for me, like God comes into it. So I'm a believer, because I had this training session, and there's a gentleman called Daniel Lewis, triple jumper. He just so happened to do a sprint session that day. It just so happened to be with my group. We just so happened to have a conversation, and I was telling him, oh yeah, I'm trying to go into schools. I just told him about all the things that I'm trying to do. And he was like, I work for this company that gets athletes into schools.
Oh.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Did you get paid for it? Yeah. What? And it just so happened that he was going to America, so there were some schools in Wales that he couldn't do. And he's like, you could probably do my schools.
Wow.
And that's kind of how it happened. So that's the first time that I actually got some paid speaking engagements. And I was in Wales. It was a week. It was like a block week where I was in Cardiff doing lots of different schools, and it was really bad. It was terrible. But that was the eye-opening thing of, okay, this can actually be a paid opportunity. And then yeah, shortly after I left Sainsbury's.
Wow. So 2 questions for you, right? Yes. What made you actually do the doing? Because a lot of people say they'll do it, but don't do it because of fear, especially for you as your weakness, right? To actually speak when I think about it, you could have very easily gone back to when you were young and people laughing at you, those kind of fears. So what made you kind of do that, right? And also, how did you feel when you did it? Were you nervous doing it? And, was you anxious? Was there any kind of imposter syndrome as well?
The truth is that after the whole America ordeal, that changed me, bro. I hit rock bottom in my life. And I know different people obviously have different definitions of rock bottom. But for me, after that, I thought things cannot get worse. And I felt super embarrassed. So I was on trying anything. And speaking is what worked. But I did music. I tried modeling. I was just trying to get out of these circumstances. So I was of the mindset at that stage, by any means. And that's what made me do the doing. Because like, I'm just going to do anything I can. Anything is better than this.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then secondly, imposter syndrome, 100%. So my definition of imposter syndrome is just inexperience in disguise. Because anytime I felt like an imposter, I was new to the thing. And once I did the thing a few times, I felt less like of an imposter. So the first time I spoke at school, I was super nervous. And believe it or not, I still get nervous now. Because I often say that confidence isn't the absence of nerves. It's your ability to still be the best version of yourself in spite of being nervous. So, yeah.
Gosh. And I'm listening to this, I'm like, you know what, I can feel the desperation that you must have been going through to be like, I need to get out of that situation, and I need to, you know. And then in terms of challenges, what kind of challenges did you kind of face on this journey that you were kind of doing? Obviously you said that your first one was bad, stuff like that.
So many. Firstly, you don't know what you don't know. So other than getting some speaking engagements from that agency, I didn't know how to get them.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know the volume that it took to get speaking engagements. And I speak to speakers now sometimes, and they're like, oh, I'm not getting engagements. I'm like, okay, cool. How many schools are you reaching out to if you're doing schools? I emailed about 5 schools. 5 schools in the last month. Okay, how many times did you email them? Once or twice. And I told them for context. At my peak, I was doing 100 emails a day. 500 a week, Monday to Friday.
What?
2,000 a month. So,
You're joking.
Bro.
2,000
emails a month at my peak. When I was doing 2 school gigs a day, every day. That was the volume that it took. And I just didn't know that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So a lot of people, and I have to emphasize this because a lot of people see how quickly I developed as a speaker, but they don't see that 70%, the speaking, that's the easy part, bro. 70% of it was on my laptop going crazy. Yeah. So that
how many times were you emailing like the same unit?
So what I would do is my cadence would be, I would send 100 a day, but then I would send 4 follow-ups in 1 week. And I found that was when I was the most successful.
Wow.
Yeah. So as you can, my emails were just going absolutely bananas. Because what I would do initially is I would send a follow-up a week, and it wasn't working as well. Then I would do 2 in 1 week, 2 in the other week. Then I thought, what if I just send them an email every single day from Monday to Thursday? And then what happened was some schools would say, can you please remove us from your mailing list immediately? And I'd be like, okay, sorry. But some would be like, okay, how much do you charge? Let's jump on a call. And that was the only way to get their attention. Because also I was emailing the receptionists and telling them to forward it to the right person. So it's not even like I'm emailing the decision maker.
Yeah.
So I have to spam them. That was just like my mind frame. Yeah. So you can get insight into my mindset of like, by any means, this is happening. and I'm thinking, geographically, bro, I'm doing schools all over the country. Have you heard of Bishop Auckland?
No.
Exactly. Yeah. That is like after Newcastle, bro. And I went to a college in Bishop Auckland. I was there for 4 days.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I went to Bournemouth College, which is down south. I didn't care anywhere. You want me to speak? You're going to pay me? I'll be there.
Wow.
I'm a hustler, bro.
Okay, so so you're sending 100 a day.
Yes.
Crazy. That's mad. I don't even think people even in their jobs, they send 100 emails a day. So how many schools were you working at your peak per week as well?
So at my peak, I did June 2022, I did 2 schools a day, Monday to Friday, every single day.
Wow, 60.
And it was so I made the most money I've ever made that month. But that was such a turning point for me because I realized, bro, that wasn't worth it. I was up and down the country, hardly eating, sleeping badly, not looking after myself. That final week, all the engagements that I did were terrible because I had no energy. And I said to myself, this is so not sustainable. I was so burnt out, I couldn't even read properly. I was seeing words. And I thought, okay, I need to figure out a way to make this money in another way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what made me fully pivot into the coaching thing.
Okay. And then start coaching people. I mean, which makes sense because you've actually got the experience now. You've now done it. So now you can actually still speak, but you can also coach people. You don't need to do 100 schools. Plus, you can start charging more anyway because you're getting more experience as as well.
Precisely.
That is kind of crazy. So let's talk a little bit about advice for people, right? Especially like, I think speaking is such an underrated thing. It's opened the doors for you. It's enabled you to kind of do what you're doing now in terms of your business, get on an Apprentice. It's changed your life, right?
100%.
Really, right? So what kind of advice would you give to people to help them become better speakers?
I think firstly, to understand that this skill can change your life, because my ability to speak under pressure has opened all these doors for me. And then also the next thing to understand is that it is a skill. My business is a profitable business because people don't understand that, and they believe that they're just introverts and that's the way they are. They believe that they're not good at speaking, that's the way they are. There's someone that just rambles on and that's the way they are. But actually, I often say to people that this doesn't have to be your final form if you don't want it to be. This is a skill, just like learning how to drive, learning how to swim. Learning how to speak is a skill, and the only way to improve it is to do it. Now, with speaking, especially when it comes to corporate presentations, pitches, people try and memorize their presentations. Yeah. And often we find that, especially when people have very high technical knowledge or skill, but low communication skills, they don't trust themselves and they try and remember everything that they're saying. And like, we've been lied to, and we assume that speaking has to be a logical activity. But I think speaking is an intuitive activity.
Yeah.
So I think advice for anyone is to not neglect their communication skills. And it's not one or the other, but you have to match your communication skills with your technical knowledge, because technical knowledge alone isn't enough, especially now in the digital age where really and truly ChatGPT can give us all the technical advice that we need. The thing that's going to set you apart is your ability to communicate.
It's true. Very, very true. And I think it's becoming more important to be effective at communication, because by communicating, you almost can get what you want, right?
I feel like everything becomes negotiable when you can communicate, bro.
Exactly. Do you know what I'm saying, right? If you want to get the money you want, if you want to get the lifestyle that you kind of want, you need to be able to kind of do that. And actually, you mentioned that you're introverted. How did you kind of change? Let me not say change it, because you might still be an introvert. I would say at times I'm a bit of an introvert. But how did you overcome being an introvert to allow you to flourish and communicate well?
Absolutely. I think there's a misconception with introverts and extroverts. And having done research on it, it's defined by how you get your energy. So if you're someone that gets your energy by being around people, being very social, extroverted. If you're someone that gets energy from being by yourself, being in your thoughts, introverted. So actually being an introvert has nothing to do with being a good or bad communicator. That's the first thing. Because I would definitely still say I'm introverted. And I know we're going to get into The Apprentice, but that's something that I struggled with a lot in the house. Being in a house full of extroverts, and I didn't want to seem rude or arrogant or antisocial. Like, I don't really want to go downstairs and speak to everyone. And I just kind of want to stick by myself. So I am very like that. And that's why I've moved to the countryside. I live in Buckinghamshire now.
Okay.
Moved out of South London. Because I like peace and quiet. So I'm still introverted. But this is a skill. And what I teach anyway is your ability to speak and communicate under pressure. And there are a number of mini skills that you work on. And the byproduct of that is that you speak well. So I often say speaking well isn't just about speaking well. It's about focusing on the message rather than the opinions of others. It's about retaining the audience's attention. It's about going at your own pace. It's about maintaining eye contact. As a byproduct of all of these things, you end up speaking well. So that's what I do. I don't try and speak well. I just slow down, go at my own pace, don't think about their opinions of me, but I think about the message that I'm delivering, include storytelling. I just do all of these mini things. And the package is, he's a good speaker.
Okay, I like that. Yeah. I like that. What about the do's and don'ts of speaking? Right? Like that's I think that's quite important, especially for effective communication. And what strategies can make someone more persuasive at speaking?
Cool. Do's and don'ts. We'll do a few do's and don'ts. Don't try to memorize your presentation. Don't fill your slides with words. So many times I go and listen to experts and their slides are essays. What I often say to people is that the visual aids shouldn't be for the audience. They should be for the speaker. What you should do is actually just have a word, a few sentences, a picture that will remind you of the thing that you have to say, rather than just have a million words. Because number one, the audience doesn't know whether to read or listen to you. They can't do both. And then they get confused. Number two, as a speaker, you sometimes just end up reading rather than speaking to us, which is incredibly disengaging. So that's do and a don't. I would say a strong do is always use stories to explain things. Anytime you're explaining something, use an example from a previous client, from a previous experience to help the person understand the thing that you want to do. All the time, all the time. It's the best thing that you can do. And most importantly, understand that attention spans have dramatically reduced. Today I was looking at it, and some adults now have attention spans that are shorter than goldfish.
What?
Which is nuts.
It's TikTok, man.
Broski.
And Reels.
And the maddest thing is, often we lose our attention span by getting more distracted. And nowadays we distract ourselves. Like, you could be watching your favorite sports team, your favorite TV show, but you may still have the impulse to go on your phone.
That's true.
You're distracting yourself from something you care about.
That's very true.
So imagine something you don't really care about. You're going to switch off like this. So anytime you speak, after 3 minutes and 20 seconds on average, someone in your audience or everyone in your audience is start thinking about something else. Their to-do list, their children, their dinner. How are you going to get their attention back? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So as the speaker, your job is to make sure that you are engaging, so that you could be saying the best thing, but if the audience is not mentally here with you, falling on deaf ears.
Yeah. Wow. It's so true. I was thinking about like football, man, Twitter, man. We're all scrolling on Twitter when you're watching football.
Right? And then they score the goal, you're like, I missed it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but it's true. It's true. Hey, those are some good do's or don'ts. Thanks so much for sharing that. And what are the small, often overlooked details in speaking that can make a big difference in how people are perceived?
The main thing is speed. Your rate of speech determines how comfortable you are and how confident you look. So I often get people saying to me that, okay, how can I seem more confident? How can I seem more authoritative? Do I need to use complex jargon? And I say, quite the opposite. The smartest person can explain the most complex thing to an 8-year-old. So what you want to do is simplify it. And all you really have to do is go at your own pace. When you speak and you pause, if you're not used to pausing, the silence is awkward and it feels like an eternity. But it's so powerful because the audience can get a moment to assimilate all you've said.
Yeah.
And you just seem like you're a lot more comfortable in your delivery. So I think that the one thing that can totally transform your communication style is your rate of speech. Slow down.
Yeah.
And go at a pace that is right for you.
Yeah.
Even if you have 1 minute to speak in a meeting, I would rather my client takes their time and explains one thing really well than tries to cramming a million things in a minute, because the audience doesn't take in any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it happened to me recently. I had a speaking engagement and I looked at the time and the time was pretty much done. I still had about 10 slides. What I could have done is just spammed through the 10 slides, but the audience wouldn't have taken in any of that information. So I just wrapped it up there and I just summarized what I said.
Okay. That's what you got to do sometimes, you know. You sometimes less is more at times. You don't always have to, especially if you've, like you say, you summarize the points of what they're going to give, because the truth of the matter is you could speak forever. How much information can you really give one, and how much is people going to take in at one point, right? That's the most important thing, you know, I think is important. So we talked a little bit about impacts. Why is this important for people to learn this skill and get better at this skill? How can it impact their lives?
Because when you are dating someone, you're going to have to speak under pressure and articulate how you feel about them. When you are applying for a job, you're going to go to a job interview and you're going to have to express to the employer why you should be the new employee. When you want to get a promotion, you're going to have an end of year review and you have to articulate under pressure all of the things that make you the person to get the promotion. All of the most important moments in life will require you to speak very well under pressure. And those are sliding doors moments. If you're dating the girl and you panic and you have a terrible date, she might not date you again. If you go for the job interview and you fumble the interview, they might not give you the role.
Yeah.
In those moments, can you speak to the person as you would speak to your friend over dinner? That's what we help people do. And that's when it matters the most.
Yeah. And how speaking helped you both professionally and personally, right?
Totally transformed my life simply because, number one, it gave me the bravery to take on things like applying for the Apprentice. And number two, it got me out of very sticky situations. Your ability to think and speak at the same time when you're put under pressure will allow you to do that. So in terms of my personal life, it allowed me to express myself. I was never very expressive. And I guess, I come from an African household. My father, not very expressive. My mother is, but, looking up to my dad, he never really showed any emotion. He didn't. So that's how I was. And I would really struggle to express myself. And I still do it a little bit now, but I would fully avoid confrontation before. Fully.
Yeah.
Fully. Now, I still do it a little bit. If before my confrontation was a 0 out of 10, now it's a 7.5.
Okay.
You probably saw it on The Apprentice.
Yeah. Okay. Good. It's better. It's improved.
It's a little bit better.
Improved,
A little bit
yeah.
better. But even then, man, I cutting up my negotiation and I'm like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. And people on Twitter are like,
Yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, what is it? We'll talk about that.
we'll talk about that.
Let me spoil it.
But yeah, so
yeah,
I think that's in my personal life, it gave me the confidence to do that. And in my professional life, I think everything is negotiable when you can speak.
Yeah.
Everything. So it's literally opened doors for me that otherwise would have never opened.
Yeah. And where you trying to take it, especially like you're helping coach people in terms of speaking, what's like the ultimate vision for you?
So now we go into organizations and we help those organizations with their presentation skills. So what we're working with right now is organizations that really need this and see a direct return on investment. So for example, there's a construction company that we recently worked with 7 months ago, and all of their senior leadership did our program. And since then, they've won £20 million worth of tenders, when they would otherwise won 2 or 3 million. They've also retained every single staff member because of the conflict resolution that have come on the back of it. And before, staff retention was something that they struggled with. So not only have they made money, they've saved money from hiring new people. Boom, direct return on investment.
Wow.
So that's the kind of thing that we want to do now. So research companies, charities, construction companies, corporate teams that need to raise money. And I'm actually now in talks with a venture capital accelerator to work with the companies that they're buying because they're going to be raising funds. So that's where I want to take it. And yeah, my dream is to be globally the number one guy in this space.
Coaching, yeah?
Absolutely.
Wow. You know what? You see, when you say stuff like helped a company make 20 million, I'm thinking, okay, so you should be getting 1% of that.
Hey!
Right? Yeah.
You should.
Yeah, but you help them get that. So that's logically what I'm thinking. I'm not saying that whether they agree or disagree if they're listening to this, that's a different thing. But I think they could acknowledge that you've helped them get that. So it's only right that,
Absolutely.
It's what it is.
I want, my plan is to do those kind of creative deals. The challenging part is that you can't attribute, it's difficult to attribute where it came from.
Yes, I get what you mean.
So even as a charity that helped, they were raising about 4 to 5 figures, and then following my program, they're raising 6 figures on a regular basis. I think it's because of me, but they're also saying they've added certain things. You know what I'm trying to say? So
it's easier to say that, isn't it? But you wasn't doing that before,
isn't it?
So why do you add those things before and then see what happened, right?
Exactly. So what I'm doing now is I have an upfront fee, and I love what I do anyway. But yeah, I think further down the line, those are the kind of deal structures that I will be looking for.
It's quite good, and I'm happy that it just really shows the connection and how speaking can open the doors. A lot of people don't realize it, like you said, right? Pitching is a thing. People are pitching for millions, hundreds of millions, right? And the ability to secure that kind of money is a big deal. Like, even like if we look at Dragon's Den, isn't that what you're doing every week when we watch people on TV, right? We're laughing at them, we're not laughing at them, but these people are putting their necks on the line to try and do something. And even if they don't do well, they've learned for next time, okay, how can we polish our pitch? They'll probably watch themselves, okay, I went wrong here. They'll probably even watch the people that did best. And then, you know what I mean? So I think it's very important to try and learn this skill. I think it can really take you like far in life. So, okay, let's move to The Apprentice, right? So what's the story behind you applying twice? I don't know if many people know that, but you actually applied twice to The Apprentice.
Twice, man. So I'm on season 19 and I initially applied for season 18. Now, the reason I applied transparently for The Apprentice was to inspire people, because I was doing quite a lot of speaking. And I just thought, can you imagine if this kid who moved to this country, 11 years old, didn't speak any English, would then go on to The Apprentice? That's a bit crazy. And that's what gave me the audacity to apply in the first place.
Yeah.
Furthermore, I met a gentleman called Avi at a networking event the year before, and I saw that he was on season 17. And he just gave me that super belief, because I'm like, yo, I'm a fan of the show, and I've met this guy. I don't know him very well, but I've met him, and I've seen he's on the show. Surely I can do it as well. So I reached out to him, and one of my biggest philosophies in life is learn from the people ahead of you. So I reached out to him, and I said, hey, do you have any advice? And he gave me some really solid advice. So Avi, if you're listening, thank you very much. And I applied for season 18. 3 months of auditions. We've gone from 80,000 applicants to 25.
80,000
applicants. I made the final 25.
Oh my God.
So now there are going to be a few reserves and 18 candidates on the show. So I'm either a reserve or a candidate. Keep my fingers crossed. I get a team call from the BBC. Frederik, we would love for you to be a reserve. So what does that mean? I still need to buy my suits, pack my bags, and get ready as if I was going to go. And for context, this year there were a number of reserves. Usually reserves do make it because things happen all the time. People get ill, people change their mind, people don't pass their CRB checks. So they said you can probably still get on. So you need to go through the whole process. So I was in a hotel for about 5 days just before filming. And of the morning of filming, I still just had my fingers crossed to put my suit on. They said, nah, go home. Heartbreaking, bro. Heartbreaking, because I'd rather they just said no at the start.
Yeah.
You know them ones. So
crazy.
I went home and I was just upset. And they said, try again next year. We can't guarantee you a spot, but we do like you. If you've made it this far, you're good. And we do like you. So try again next year. And then I said to myself, can you imagine me, the guy that took 7 years to sign a pro contract, the guy that went through all of this adversity, if actually I apply again next year and then I make it, it'll make the story even better.
Yeah.
And one of my big philosophies in life is that if you keep going, you keep growing.
Yeah.
So I thought, let me just have an amazing year and apply again. Between season 18 and season 19, I worked with the government of the British Virgin Islands and trained some of their government officials there. I spoke in Las Vegas. I spoke in Nigeria.
Wow.
I was featured on Forbes. So when I applied again, they kind of laid out the red carpet a little bit. They were like,
Wow.
go through.
Okay, so you had all these kind of experiences that you had done.
Plus, I had the experience of going through the whole application process the year before. And I knew what was coming up. So I just whizzed through the whole thing, fingers crossed. And then when I got the call, they said, they tried to trick me, you know. On the call, the BBC said, Frederik, I don't know how to say this. You're in. I was like, you got me. And that's it. That's the story behind me applying twice.
Well done for like persevering. But I can also see where the perseverance comes from your previous story. And I'm not surprised that for you, yes, that would have been painful, but you've dealt with rejection before. So you know for you, life. Okay, if you really want to get onto here, kind of do it. What do you think made them decide that versus season 18?
Yeah, I think there are a number of different aspects, and there are different personalities, geographically as well. You have to be from different places, and then obviously ethnicities, they need different ethnicities. So for some reason, I just wasn't meant to be part of season 18. And the feedback they gave me was that, look, you are good, but just not good enough for this season. So for me, how I took that was just get better. Just get better, be more impressive. And when I came back and they said, so how's your business evolved? And I told them about all the things they did. They were like, whoa, this is brilliant.
Okay. So I don't get the process. I'm thinking in my head, the process is like you just do some application form that they like you or not. Is it more than that? They're interviewing you and stuff like that.
It is a long process.
Really?
So you do a form initially. That's when 80,000 people apply.
Yeah.
Out of those 80,000 people, I don't know how many make it.
I can't believe 80,000 people applied to the Apprentice. That's mad.
Crazy. And
well
then,
done.
thank you.
On. That's crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
it's a big achievement. And then you go into London or Birmingham or Manchester, and then you do the first kind of in-person audition day. And that is a super long day. The first thing that you do is they put you under pressure, bro. Sat there. So I'm giving you game if you're going to apply one day. You're in a room with like 20 people. And then you might be number 17, and they'll be like, 17, why should you be Lord Sugar's business partner? You have 20 seconds, go.
Were you prepared for that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because you did 18.
Yes.
But 18 must have been hard.
Yes.
But now that 19, you're like, okay, I've already done this, so I know. Wow.
Furthermore, this is what I train people to do.
Yeah.
To think fast and speak. So there were people, when we were handing in our CVs, most people's CVs was thick. My CV was 1 page, bro.
Yeah.
I've told you my story. I used to run.
Yeah.
I was a delivery driver. Now I speak.
Wow.
0 corporate experience.
It's crazy.
But in those 30 seconds, those 20 seconds, I was able to articulate all of my life story, my values quickly, explaining why I am the right person. Whereas other people would be kind of waffling on, speaking about their businesses. And also it's about answering the question. They didn't say, what is your business? They said, why should you be Lord Sugar's business partner? And a lot of people were speaking about their businesses and none of them made it to the next round because they had to speak about themselves as the entrepreneur. So, and that's the first stage. Then you go to a second stage, then you go to a third stage, and there's a fourth stage. So that one day is 4 stages. Then you come back and you do a lot of team building things. So it's boys versus girls like on the show. They're giving us tasks and there's loads of cameras and they're seeing how you are on camera. And then there's a third day and it's basically just that for 3 months.
3 months?
Bro, you start in Jan and then you get on the show in April.
That is intense.
It's intense, bro.
As if the show is not intense enough.
One thing about the show though, and it's interesting, I see some like former candidates and current candidates complain about the show. They warn you, bro. The BBC kind of convince you not to do it.
What warn you about what?
The long days.
Okay, yeah.
Physically demanding, very tiring. When you watch it back, it probably won't be how you experienced
Yeah,
it.
because it's hours, isn't it? Right.
The edit, like they tell you all of this. So when people kind of go on TikTok and cry about the edit, don't feel sorry for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We knew what we were getting ourselves in for.
Yeah, they're condensing. Actually, let's talk about it but they're condensing like a week into 1 hour,
Precisely.
right?
And in a day, we'll film 15 to 18 hours.
Yeah,
So 4 days.
15 to 18 hours.
Oh, long days, mate.
Wow.
So 4 of those days condensed into 35 minutes of the task and then 25 minutes of the boardroom. Boardroom days are 6 hours.
What?
Everyone's so surprised about that.
I don't understand that.
Bro. Okay, so we go to the boardroom. Everyone has to get makeup done. That takes like an hour. So that's an hour gone. Then we go in. Both teams have an hour to explain what happened. Because Lord Sugar isn't on task with us. He has no idea, bro. He's just got some fat notes and then Karen and Tim explaining.
That's true because the way he talks, it's true. The night that you say that.
Because sometimes he says things and he's like,
yeah.
Why would you say that? He doesn't know what happened. So again, it's all
of
about
course.
the story in the boardroom, who speaks up, who articulates themselves. And that's how he tries to figure out what happened. So that's why some firings are like really unfair.
Yeah.
And if he actually saw what happened, he probably wouldn't have fired these people.
That's actually a good point.
You
the way it's
understand?
presented is like you thinking that Lord Sugar's watched everything and he knows everything that's happened.
The opposite.
Yeah.
He knows nothing. He's watched, he's busy.
Yeah.
And in the
true.
boardroom, he's like, okay, guys, so what happened? So then literally the PM is like, this is what happened. The sub PM says about what happened in his sub team. We'll have a little argument. That takes an hour for each team. So let's say we're 3 hours in and then we find out the results. Winning team go to do their treat. Losing team loses calf. That takes another hour. We're on 4 hours now. Have a little lunch break for an hour. We're on 5 hours. Losers team goes back. We argue. There's a bottom 3.
Yeah.
So
yes,
the
of course,
people that safe are home, bottom 3 lot, it's the 6th hour. So that's why there's a lot of times where Lord Sugar would say, look, I've had enough. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Because we've been chatting for 6 hours.
For 6 hours. Okay. That's
So
why
it's
that
long.
makes sense. Wow.
Yes.
Shit. Oh, you're doing that. Oh my God. You have to do that every week.
The worst part of the boardroom, bro, is if you're standing up.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Bro, that's something that I didn't think about. If you're standing up in a boardroom, your feet and legs are finished.
That is crazy. Okay, so let me talk about a few things, right? So talk about some of your experiences, how you found the actual process of being on The Apprentice and the challenges that you felt like it presented.
So the experience of being on The Apprentice was crazy. The biggest challenge of being The Apprentice is how physically and mentally demanding that show is. And that's what we don't see. Think about every day waking up between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Waking up with a camera in your face.
You're actually waking up that early?
Unfortunately.
Because when I'm watching it, I'm thinking they're calling you at like 4 a.m. Oh yeah, wake up. And it's like, what? Really?
Unfortunately, we wake up so early, bro. And we're in a bubble. So we haven't got phones, TVs, internet, time. We have no idea. So I'd have to ask the producers, what time is it? Like, and they're like, oh, it's 2:45. I'm like, oh gosh. Especially those when we go to the airport, we'd have to go super early. When we did a scene at the London Stock Exchange, you think about it, that's someone's workplace. So we had to finish filming at 6 a.m. when people start coming in for work. So we have to be there from about 4:30 to do the filming at the London Stock Exchange. You know what I'm saying? So if we need to be there 4:30, we need to leave at 4. We need to wake up at 3. Yeah. So we wake up super early and there's a camera in your face when you wake up and you're under extreme pressure the whole time. Sleep. You're not really sleeping much because in between day 1 and day 2, you're just thinking about how you messed up in day 1 and how you have to make up for it in day 2. When it's the boardroom tomorrow, you're just thinking about, okay, I know that this person's going to bring this up. So what are the mistakes that they made? So I'm going to you're not sleeping. So do that for 3 weeks. You're starting to make silly mistakes. And then it adds to the entertainment of the show, obviously, when you watch it back. But that's just context. Like BTS, this is what's happening. So when we're all starting to make mistakes, task 6, task 7, task 8, simple spelling errors.
Yeah.
Bro, we're checked out, bro.
Yeah. Because you're not sleeping. That's crazy.
We're tired. So that's what I found the most challenging on the show, how physically and mentally demanding it was. And then secondly, like I alluded to before, I found the house a little bit challenging because naturally I am quite social, but I need to charge the batteries and I charge them by myself. Usually I like to just be by myself, play PlayStation, listen to a podcast, do my thing. And in the house, I didn't, even though obviously it's a mansion, it was a weird friction between I don't want to be antisocial, I don't want to be rude, everyone's downstairs, I'm just in my room. Should I prioritize myself? Should I go and speak to them? But then I'm going to be tired. I'm still going to be drained by tomorrow. Yeah. And I did struggle with that.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
How do you feel yourself? How do you feel like you kind of overcame some of those challenges, especially like the demanding days, hours, lack of sleep, and, you know, the house situation as well?
I did it. I struggled with it.
Yeah.
And you get a few minutes of phone calls a week.
What?
Yes.
This is crazy.
You get a few minutes of phone calls a week to loved ones. So, yeah, I struggled with all of that stuff. I'll be honest. It made the whole thing harder. But and so the tasks and stuff, that was the easy part, man.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think
was
so.
other people struggling with the other candidates struggling with the hours as well and the physical strain of it?
Yes. I think everyone did struggle with them. When I speak to some of the other candidates, they were like, even the ones that got further than me, say, look, by the time you went, I was hanging on by a thread.
Wow.
Yeah, I was pretty much done. And if I got fired, I would have got fired. It is what it is.
Wow. Why don't they think of like slowing this down a bit, man? They're going to burn you lot out.
I think it's part of the process.
Okay.
Of like, business is hard. You're going to have late nights, early morning. I think, because I could.
Sounds unrealistic.
It is though. Right? It is. Because, and I guess it adds to the entertainment. When you're tired, when you're hungry, you're at your worst.
Yeah.
Stick a camera in front of you and go and pitch to investors. Good luck. So that's what makes it fun, isn't it?
Oh my God, that's such a struggle. Man,
that's
that is crazy. So talk a little bit about, you know, obviously you talked about behind the scenes of the task. Which one did you kind of like find the most challenging for yourself?
It's a good question. The task I found the most challenging was task 4, tomatoes versus potatoes.
Okay. Yes, I remember that one.
I struggled with that.
Oh, yes, I remember that one.
for a number of reasons.
Oh, before I say anything, spoiler alert, people. If you haven't watched The Apprentice, this is the current season. This is your warning now. Tune out now if you don't want to hear the spoiler alert of what Frederik's going to say. Just saying. Okay, go. Sorry, you continue, Frederik.
Task 4 was tough. Number 1, that kitchen. Okay, now, number 1, I've gone to negotiate the tomatoes. And I have no idea of what kitchen we're going to go into tomorrow. I just know it's a commercial kitchen. So I've gone there to try and get as high as a price as possible, and I've negotiated like 250 kg of tomato, right, for crazy, which was good money, but in hindsight, super unrealistic. In my head, we've got dicers, so it's gonna dice, and I don't know how long we have in the kitchen. We don't get all of this information, so all I know is I'm going in with a negotiation. So's the other team, and I need to get higher price than them. That's all I know. So they're saying they want 100 kg. I'm like, let's do 125 at X amount. They're like, cool. I'm like, I'm rubbing my hands. I'm like, I'm sure we got more money than the other team. Then I go into the kitchen the next day. We've got hella tomatoes and knives.
Oh, they stitched you up.
And I was like to production, are you kidding me? They're like, yeah, you've got to cut it up.
These guys are they enjoying their lives too much.
We've got to cut it up. How long do we have? A few hours. There is no way we're going to get through this. They're like, get started. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So we're doing it. I cut my finger and I just know, okay, we're not going to get through this. Then I go back to the client and obviously we have to renegotiate. So that was just a difficult task. Number one, because I had no idea what the conditions would be, and those are the hardest ones because I was really chuffed after my negotiation because you think you've done really well, but then it's the apprentice, so then there's always something that goes a little bit wrong. And if you think about the apprentice, it's hardly ever one team doing really well and winning. It's more so the other team messing up more than the winning team. There will be a mess up.
Okay.
You'll mess up on your apprentice.
This is starting to become clear because sometimes I think as a viewer, when you watch it, you're like, well, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Da, 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 da. But I guess it's designed that way to make us think like you don't have all the information like you said previously. So when you're speaking to these clients, they're not real clients. It's fictitious type of clients and you're not really trying to deliver real product, are you?
So I thought they were fake clients, but they are real clients.
Oh.
Because I did a few of them on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
So they're real clients that work in these organizations.
Yeah.
But we're not delivering real products. So for example, that tomato, then they were never going to use that for their bruschettas.
It's just for the challenge of it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Wow. Did this often happen where they don't give you the full details of the 100%. The task?
And and even each team then have two sub teams. And as sub teams, we don't communicate that much during the day.
Yeah, I always wondered that watching it. I don't understand it.
We're not allowed to. So that's when the chaos comes in. Because we're in the same team, but we've gone off. We've had a quick chat in the morning, 20 minutes, and then we go off for 18 hours.
Yeah.
And next day we come back and we're like, why did you guys do that? We're like, oh wait, we thought we were going to do that. And again, that's what brings the entertainment piece. So yeah, it often happens. So, but I'm a fan of the show, bro. So I knew what I was getting myself in for. So I just thought I'm gonna throw myself at it and just try and
just
my
enjoy
best
it. Yeah.
And just do it and see it for what it is, which is an entertainment show. If I win it, I get $250,000 invested into my business, and if not, I just have a good time and I get what I'm supposed to out of it. My biggest regret would have been is if I hid and then I got fired and it's like, yo, I had this once in a lifetime opportunity and I didn't even give it a good go.
Wow. Okay. No, you know what? Fair enough.
Yeah.
Is it what you thought it was going into it? Like having done everything that you've done so far?
Ish.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I went into it with realistic expectations. So I would say so.
Okay. That's good. That's good. God. It sounds like they put you through the ringer. I'm not gonna lie. Wow. So what was the most surprising thing about being on Apprentice that viewers don't typically see, that we don't get to, typically see?
I think the most surprising thing about being on The Apprentice, I think everything that we've discussed so far, and if anything, the most surprising thing about The Apprentice is how much is shot, how much footage they have, and how little it's shown.
Yeah.
I would literally say 1% of the days are shown on the TV. So when we're watching it back, we're even a bit anxious because we're like, oh, I don't know what they're going to show. I know I had 3 days of excellence and half an hour of shakiness. Is that what they're going to put on there?
Yeah, because they only need a 5-minute segment to put on TV because there's like so many of you.
Absolutely.
So they need to just show you bad, this person good, whatever, mediocre, whatever.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
So that's the most surprising part, just how much we record for how little is shown. Bro, the taxi scenes, for example.
Yeah.
we're walking into the taxi 6 times. But I've watched it. They will show this 0.1 second. But we're walking into the taxi 1,000,000 times.
That's crazy.
That's just one example.
Yeah. And you're doing a lot of traveling in this stuff as well, right? Obviously, you went to Turkey for one, Austria as well. How did you find doing all of that? All the traveling around, not just abroad, but UK. How do you kind of manage that?
Traveling abroad was my favorite bit.
Yeah.
To be fair. I love traveling, and it was quite surreal. I had never been skiing. So first task, Logic was like, you're going to Austria. Next thing I know, we're on our way to Heathrow, we sleep at the airport, and then I'm in some glacier running a tour. So that was pretty cool. But I think those parts are exciting.
Yeah.
Because you just wake up, you have no idea what you're doing. You go to the boardroom, you're told what you're doing, and then you just do things you would have never, ever done.
Yeah, put you out of your comfort zone.
Out of your comfort zone. So that's what I mean by you just have to see it for what it is. An exciting challenge where you just try your best.
Yeah.
And if you have that mindset, you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
And of course, it's physically demanding, but you'll enjoy it. Whereas if you go into it as it's a super serious business show, you will be left disappointed.
Okay, I understand. And the people that you guys are recruiting, like, let's talk about that ski one, for example, right? These are real people just off the street.
That's what makes it difficult. Can you imagine just being in Austria?
How did product crew get them? Oh, guys, do you want to be in this TV show?
So what happens is I was on the other team, so I wasn't on the selling team. But what happens is you approach someone and then you have a conversation with them, and then the production has them sign stuff. Like you have to obviously sign the NDA, and then they explain like, look, this is a TV show.
Okay.
So that's to my understanding, that's how it works. But I wasn't on the selling team, so I'm not too sure how it happened.
That's interesting.
But I know that they are real people going about their real lives that we're trying to convince to do this thing.
Yeah. How did you find that? It's
hard.
like doing that.
I wasn't on the selling team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, were you in a selling team on it?
I was on the tour team.
Oh, for that one though.
For that one.
Oh no, yeah. Because sorry, the other selling the tomatoes you did directly to the client. So yeah, you did that.
Absolutely. And then when we did the discount buying task, we're going into stores to buy stuff from them. So it's a little bit different than going to the street.
To like people on road. Wow.
So yeah, I didn't do the people on road thing.
Gosh, this is
quite thankful I didn't.
I mean, look, your speaking ability would have worked and helped out in that kind of situation. And, you know, with Lord Sugar, did you have much interaction with him? What's he like in person? Because obviously on TV, he comes across at times, right?
I think just like his book, with him, what you see is what you get. That is him. He is no nonsense. And especially because, like I said, he's not on task with us. So he's trying to find out, right, what happened? What happened? Cool. You guys win, go do it. Losing team, what happened? Who messed up? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? So he knows people are going to sweet talk or exaggerate the truth because he's done the process a number of different times. So he's just trying to figure out who's lying, who messed up, and that's what he's there to do in the boardroom. So other than the boardroom days, we don't really interact with him much.
Okay.
Karen Brady and Tim are on task with us. So Tim's cool. Tim, speak to him on a regular basis. Brian S. Brady was more reserved, but yeah, we had more interaction with them than we did with Lord Sugar.
With Lord Sugar, okay. That's so interesting. So the sharpness of how he is, that's how he is in real life. He's sharp like that as well.
And he likes people that are like that.
Really?
When you look back on the show and the people that have done well, they're like that.
Yeah.
And even if they mess up, he's like, did you do that? And they're like, yeah, I did it. And I made a mistake, sorry.
So he likes people that takes accountability.
Take accountability, straight to the point.
Make mistakes, try things.
Absolutely.
Not scared to fail, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you just admit it, you say yes, you explain why you did it, he's going to like you more than if you come up with a million excuses.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's the kind of vibe I kind of get from him, that he's a bit like, he likes the fight. Because being part of an entrepreneur is you are going to make mistakes, but the actual thing of when you're an entrepreneur, you are putting yourself out there. You are trying things out the norm, right?
Absolutely.
So therefore, because you're trying things out the norm, you can't be, let me not say weak-minded, but you've got to try and be strong. You got to have a strong mentality and just sometimes say, nah. You know, especially like when I watch some people and they say, no, I stick by what I did. And you're like, come on. You've been told you what was wrong. Don't be saying you stuck by it. Like, say, yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Basically. And that was always my approach. And
Yeah.
for example, task 6, spoiler alert, when I did the negotiation with Turkey and he was annoyed at me breaking down the price, I was like, cool.
Yes.
I took a step. I tried.
Yeah.
Took a step too far. I tried something.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, it was, even though I kind of actually stand by it in real life because
Talk to me about that. Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah.
So I got told off for breaking down the price.
Yes. Yeah. I watched that
corporate
episode. Yeah.
Now, I used a sales tactic called price anchoring.
Okay.
Which is a sales tactic that I even use on a regular basis. And we see organizations use all the time. If you were to get this item, it will cost you this. If you were to get that item individually, it will cost you that. And if you were to get this, it will cost you this. But today, we'll give you the bundle, it will cost you that. So if you were to go to EE, they'll say the SIM only contract is £10 and the iPhone is 20, but rather than pay 30, we can give you both for 15.
Yeah.
That's like a normal thing. So, and that's exactly what I did. The challenging part was that then I'm not in charge of the delivery.
Yeah.
So I'm not there during the tour and the tour was boring.
Yeah.
You understand? I'm not really there doing the food. Or I was there doing the food, but I'm not like the main chef. And then the food wasn't what they expected. And then obviously I did the team building activity. So I understand why on The Apprentice that was a bad idea. But I think in business, price anchoring is not a terrible idea.
Yeah. You know what? Now that you say that, somebody quote me if I'm wrong in the comments, right? I'm pretty sure when I read 100 million offers is a similar type of approach. I'm pretty sure.
100%. Homozy does that religiously.
I'm pretty sure that's what
I learned from him.
Yeah.
Homozy does that all the time, bro.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because I've read that book and I'm pretty sure I've seen that.
That's where I learned price anchoring from Alex Homozy.
Okay. Look, sometimes you win some and you lose some, and that didn't happen for you at that time. What was like the favorite for you? What tasks did you kind of enjoy the most that you felt like, I really kind of did well here and I worked quite well with my team?
I think I enjoyed most of the tasks. If I had to pick one, I would say either Turkey or Austria. Because both times I really put myself out there. I gave it a good go, whether it was running the tour or whether it was negotiating with Vodafone. And also the added travel element made it even better.
Yeah. I like that. I like Turkey. Turkey was nice, and Turkey's one of my favorite places.
Same.
Like, and I go there a lot. And I'm trying to remember, did you go on the balloons? No, man, that's the one you missed out. You didn't go to Cappadocia. Oh, man.
Bro,
that was a nice one.
Tell me if it's a fair competition. Someone is doing hot air balloon.
I know.
We're doing Jeep Safari.
No, you can't win. When I watch, I was like this, you can't beat that. You're not beating that kind of view. You're beating that. Nowhere in the world do you see something like that. You're not winning. Jeeps are nice. Don't get me wrong. They're nice, but it's not that nice. It's not air balloon that, but you know, it's rigged sometimes.
It is what it is.
It's rigged. So I guess for you, right, how do you feel like you were portrayed in the show? Did anything kind of surprise you about how like your story is told, given that they like had so many kind of different like, content of you guys?
I was happy with it.
Yeah.
I was happy with it. I think I was happy with how I was portrayed. Of course, not everything was exactly as it happened. Example, task 1, it showed that Johnny was speaking German and I quickly cut in, not allowing those other two to build rapport.
Yeah.
In real life, of course they didn't do that. Of course they spoke to the client. Of course they did build rapport. But that was the story for that task and it is what it is. So I would never complain about the edit, but it wasn't all exactly as it happened. However, I was happy with it. I think I came across as myself, which is all I can really ask for.
Yeah, that's important. You know, at the end of the day, that like your authentic self is so important, and that you're able to like show who you are. And you smashed it in the speaking, right? And you said that Lord Sugar, tweeted about it, that you talk a little bit about that and what that kind of meant to you, the fact that he kind of recognized. I think that was one of the pitch, was it around the banking? Yes, that was it. That was a legendary speaking pitch. Yeah, talk a little bit around that and what that kind of meant for you and kind of the impact of hearing that.
Yeah, I think that meant a lot to me, especially because I know on The Apprentice, like I said to you, we all do really good things, but they often don't show it. And it is what it is. But on that specific occasion, they actually highlighted how good I did in my presentation. And I had done all the presentations prior to that, and well, they just hadn't shown it. So that wasn't the first presentation that I did. And also I got fired that episode. And usually the person that gets fired gets shown in their worst light. So I'm super grateful for that. And then Lord Sugar's obviously got 5 million Twitter followers, and he tweeted about how good my presentation was. Yeah. And that's helped a lot. As someone who helps people with their presentation skills, I felt I did a TikTok saying, and even a LinkedIn post that went crazy, that I said, I've won the Apprentice. Because I felt like I had won. I went on there to demonstrate how good I was at communicating and to put myself in the shop window. Anyone who wants to improve on their communication skills, I'm your guy. Yeah. And what better way to go than to have a presentation? People are calling it the best pitch in Apprentice history.
Wow.
Which
that's legendary. That's what you want. And that's what you see, when you say you won Apprentice, that is exactly it.
Exactly what
because you've come in as, I'm a speaker, like you say, you help people with that, and you've done well, extremely well, and even been recognized by the guy who's his TV show. He's acknowledged you as well. Yeah. You don't need much more than that, right? You know, so that's amazing. That's amazing. So were there any kind of moments you feel for yourself, right, that were really like memorable for you that we didn't get to kind of see as well?
A good question. I think you build a great bond with the candidates, and now because of social media, you get to see it. So you get to see that me, Liam, and Jana, for example, we're bros, and we go in there and it's a competition and we don't know each other, but then we spend so much time together that you tend to gravitate towards people. Yeah. And they don't often show like the bromances on telly, but I think the relationship that I have with Jana and Liam in particular, and I get on with a lot of them, Chizola, Amber Rose, they're also really good friends of mine. I think that those are the things that I didn't expect to come away with.
Yeah, that's good. And then like, you kind of all went through the experience together, all went through that pain, them not sleeping a lot, long hours. Yeah, man, you understand, right? You understand what it was. Understand what the what the experience was like. So, again, spoiler alert for people. I feel like this was a brutal firing. I don't know how you feel, right? By Lord Sugar. And I feel like before you even had a chance to, it was the banking episode, from what I remember, before you even had a chance to bring back 2 candidates, he was like, right, Frederick, you're fired. So he did a double firing there. People, don't be angry at me. I already said spoiler alert. Please don't be angry at me. What was kind of going through your mind at that moment when he kind of said that? And do you think at that time, looking back, it was a fair decision as well?
I don't think that's ever happened in the history of The Apprentice. For him to ask someone to bring 2 people back with him in the bottom 3, and they don't even get the opportunity to do that. I would have loved the opportunity to defend myself in the bottom 3. If I got fired after that, I was PM, we lost, so be it. But it would have been good. I definitely think it was a very quick firing. As someone who likes to make light of these situations, when all the press asked me about it, I said, you know what? I think Spurs were playing that night. He's a big Spurs fan. He wanted to get out of the boardroom ASAP. So he said, Frederick, go home. But in reality, yeah, what happened was it was a double firing and Keir got fired. I think they wanted Keir to be fired. And I decided to bring back Dean and Malika. What you didn't see on camera is that he actually asked me twice. So I brought back Dean and Malika, and then they started talking about Keir and how bad he was. And then Lord Sugar asked me again, so Frederick, who are you bringing back? And I said, Dean and Malika. And he said, I don't like wasting my time. It is with regret, you're fired. So in that moment, I was like, and then I was like, I think they wanted Keir out. And then I saw that Keir came out. But my whole narrative was the app didn't have enough financial literacy. I believe that's why we failed the task. So I have to bring 2 people from the app team. Keir's pitch was nowhere near as bad in real life as they made it look on the show. As a public speaking coach, I would know if a pitch is bad. His pitch was not bad. He's a salesman. That's literally his company. So once I saw that Keir also left, I was like, if I had brought Keir back, maybe I would have stayed. However, I'm really happy I didn't, because I stuck to my guns. And it's all under the bracket of being true to myself. Imagine what it would have looked like if I picked those 2, and then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh yeah, Lord Sugar, I changed my mind. I'm picking Keir. It's just sloppy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like if I had picked here, we would have done the bottom three. Maybe I would have got fired, maybe not. Maybe I would have been able to fight my way out of it. But having said that, I'm happy that I stuck to my guns.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I don't think he was actually at fault. I still don't think he was at fault. And I believe I got fired because I didn't pick here.
Fair enough. That's so interesting. Do you feel like you're on the show, so you understand. Do they have an idea of who they're trying to get fire beforehand? Like in that one, because you're saying that they picked Keir. Yes, okay, looking back as a viewer, the pitch didn't look great, but you're right. It was, from what I understand, it was like there was not enough literacy on the app. So yeah.
And that goes back to Lord Sugar not being on task with us. If I was in the bottom three, I would have had a bit more time to explain to him, look, you can be the best speaker, the best pitcher, but if you're pitching nonsense, no one is going to invest in it. And that's what I wanted to say to him, but I didn't have the time to do that. In that hour when there's 6-7 of us, we're all taking turns and we're all arguing. So I feel like for whatever reason, Lord Sugar came to the conclusion that the pitch was bad. Because even he was like, Dean or Keir, the app or the pitch? Like the pitch must have been bad because no one invested. And from his perspective, I can see it. Like if no one invested, the pitch must have been terrible.
Or the app bad.
So
right?
Yeah, and it is subjective, isn't it? It's one guy's decision.
Yeah,
he decides.
Yeah,
because like Tim was backing me. If he says you want to go, you want to go. So I don't know if he already knows who he wants to fire, but I just know that as a human being, I think sometimes he's not right.
Yeah,
he's wrong.
Yeah,
but he decides.
Yeah, he's got to decide ultimately.
So,
yeah,
that's the decision that he made.
Okay, wow, that's so.
Yeah, The Apprentice. It's interesting, isn't it?
It's very, very interesting. How did you deal with this pressure of all of this? Because there's a lot of pressure. Like, did you feel? I know, obviously, the physical demands type, but did you feel like you were under a lot of pressure?
Oh,
at times.
I feel like that was the most pressure I will ever be in my life. Especially anytime I spoke or negotiated. Because I'm going in there as a speaker. And like we've all seen Liam, bless him, and he's butchered his pitch and they've made it look terrible. Even Keir's pitch wasn't that bad and they've made it look terrible. So I'm like, if I make one mistake in this presentation, my credibility is in the bin.
Basically, yeah.
Because the thing with attention, it's a double-edged sword. It can either boost you or expose you.
Yeah.
It can go one or two ways. So, and I knew that. So anytime that I was speaking, anytime there's a picture presentation, they're like, Frederick, you're speaking. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm not going to back down from that. And I just knew that I will never be under more pressure than this.
Yeah.
There are 8 cameras pointing at me right now. If I stumble on one word, finished.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it like that, but you're absolutely right. If they put a video, you're saying, you're speaking coach, they put a video, and you know BBC, they'll just put it on YouTube everywhere. Their distribution is crazy. Just going to millions of people. This guy says you're speaking coach, and look at him messing up this pitch. People be like,
and that's exhibit A.
Yeah.
That's exactly not what they want to do, but that's what gets attention. Oh, this he's a businessman. He's a public speaker. He's a speaker. He can't speak. Do you know what I mean?
You gotta be careful. But look, it worked out in your favor. At the end of the day, right? It worked out that you were a great speaker. Wow, that's amazing. Who do you think's gonna win?
Who do I think's going to win? Yes, I don't know. I don't know who's going to win. I think whoever's going to win is going to be someone who's overcome adversity on the show. And I say that because when I look at previous winners, none of them just have a smooth pass. So there's still some super strong candidates in there. You know, Amber Rose, Chizola, Anissa, Dean, Liam. Any of them could take it, so I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough. But who you putting your hat in the ring? You know
Liam's my guy. Liam's my guy.
Liam, okay.
Liam's my guy. So I'm rooting for Liam.
You're rooting for Liam. Okay, cool. Is there anything that you would have done differently now that you know what you know, now that you've had the experience? Is there anything that you would have been like, you know what, I wish I did this more, wish I did that more?
In hindsight, yes, but also no. Because there are always things in life that you're like, with the information I have now, I could change it. But not having the information, I'm very happy with how I did.
Yeah. I mean, look, you did what you set out. You said you won Apprentice, right? If that's how you feel, and, you know, you told me some things offline, if you're happy to share. What was kind of like the reception after the fact that you went on Apprentice? What was that like the impact for you personally, your business and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, since the show, since Lil Sugar's tweet, we've had a ridiculous amount of inbound inquiries to do training. And, you know, the biggest banks in the country, NatWest, Lloyds Banking Group, Airbus, Shell Energy. In higher education, we've had London School of Economics.
These are billion
King's College London
companies.
And they're reaching out to me to train their staff. So it has been incredible. My job now is for them not to see me as this flash in the pan once opportunity, but to build relationships with these organizations. And I'm confident enough in the product that they'll see the value and that they'll keep coming back.
Yeah, that's big. Congratulations on that. These are like billion-pound companies coming out to you saying, we believe in your ability, speaking ability, which you went on to the show to do, and now you're getting an opportunity to do that. That's like really big. Like, and well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's amazing. And how do you feel like the Apprentice in terms of your growth personally and as an entrepreneur? How do you feel like it contributed to your growth?
I think what I wanted The Apprentice to do is to add fuel to the fire. Because like I said, before The Apprentice, I had spoken in Vegas, in Nigeria, and I was helping thousands of people get good at communicating to accelerate their career. And it has done just that. It's given me a bigger spotlight. And if I was to go on LinkedIn now, there will be probably 5 requests. And I get people literally saying, the way you communicated to the stakeholders on The Apprentice was inspiring. I struggle to communicate to stakeholders. Can you help me? And that's exactly what I went on the show for. So I think it gave me that extra exposure. And now that I plan to do more work internationally, I think it's just added to my story.
Yeah.
From a shy, introverted kid to a TV personality.
That's amazing. It's like, honestly, it's a story of resilience. It's an amazing story. And it really, honestly, I hope it encourages people that are listening that if you're trying to achieve something, you can achieve it. You know, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. Look at the amount of hours. I mean, look, you talked about how many, you know, kind of emails you were sending per week. You've talked about going to Apprentice. Look how demanding that has kind of been. You got to be resilient. You got to be ready to work hard and just put in the kind of graft, right? But you know what? I liked what you said earlier, where you was like, I was at bottom and I was willing to do anything. And sometimes I feel like people need to get to that place where they're like, I'm willing to do whatever it is, right? You know, I think it's very, very important. Okay, so I want to talk about building wealth, right? So when we spoke, you mentioned that you like to use your money to invest in yourself. Can you elaborate on the thinking behind this approach?
Absolutely. So I'm someone who didn't come from money. Super humble, working class family. Mum and dad cleaning jobs as they have migrated from Africa. And I've had such a turbulent relationship with money, man, where there's periods where in athletics I was making a lot, but I felt like I had holes in my wallet and I couldn't retain money. And I remember speaking to a mentor and saying to him, how can I retain money? And the first thing he told me to do is to get more than one bank account. At the time, I just had one bank account. And he said, what you have to do is have different bank accounts, have a card. If you know you have an impulse to spend, have an account where you don't even have your card, or you just dash away your card and give it to mumsy. And then anytime you get paid, you put X amount into that account. That was the beginning of my financial literacy journey.
Yeah.
Being able to get paid and then pay myself. And before I would do that, but for example, you know, on Monzo, you have several different accounts or different pots. I'll put them in the pot, but it's all in the same thing. So it would just take it out of the pot.
Yeah.
So what I had to do is I had to make it as hard for myself to get that money as possible. So I would transfer it into another account. And then for me to transfer it back, it's just inconvenient. So then I don't look at that account on a regular basis. So for what I can see, I got £300 in my account. That's what's better for me. I'm like, yo, I got £300 left. I'm struggling. And forget that there's money on the side. What I started doing with the money on the side is I started doing the trading 212, S&P 500, which is okay. However, I had unrealistic expectations of what that would do for me. Like if you put £5,000 in there, if you look at the account in 3 months, you're probably going to have £4,800 in there. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's probably would have gone down minus 200 or whatever. Like that's long term. And I'm trying to accelerate my wealth journey. So for me, my whole mindset shift was that I saw again a video from Alex Hormozy, and he articulated that people think they get paid money for time. So you get paid £9 an hour. But in his opinion, you get paid money for the value that you add in a marketplace in that time period. So I think about myself as a delivery driver. I was getting £9 an hour. High key, I was adding £9 an hour value to the marketplace. And I think you know that you're not that valuable when you're easily replaceable. They can find another driver ASAP. So then, if you get paid in proportion to the value you add to the marketplace, then your job is to get more valuable to earn more money. And I did that by investing in myself. And what did that look like? I invested in books. I invested in events. I invested in mentors. I invested in mastermind groups. And what that did is that it built my skills. It built my ability to speak, communicate, negotiate, market. And you don't know what you don't know. So like now that I'm in this kind of new, I went from speaking in schools, now I'm doing more corporate stuff. I didn't know how to, I'm still figuring it out. Like I've only spoken in America once. I don't know how to get gigs in America. So I will pay for that information. Rather than trying to learn it myself, I'll pay someone that's done it before to give me that information. And that's been my accelerator. And what that's done is increased my value. So now in the marketplace, rather than adding £9 worth of value, I'm adding thousands of pounds worth of value, which has then accelerated my progress. So I felt like that at this stage was more important than the S&P 500 stuff. Because then once I'm able to command better fees when speaking, then I can put more money to the side, which can then compound at a faster rate.
I understand. I like that. And I think it's very important to, because at the end of the day, the person who's generating the income is you.
Yes.
And if you're able to generate more income, we've talked about this on another episode with a private banker, where they said the most important thing was the income you can generate, because the income you can generate, then you can put into other pots. And I like the fact that you're focusing on supercharging that income, because if you're able to, look, let's say, for example, this is crazy, right? Footballers, they get millions a year, right? That's it. That's just pure crazy amounts of income. I'm not saying that that's what people need to aim for. I'm just saying that, like, it's important. And if you can increase that, it's going to do wonders for you.
And I say that because I also, like, I've tried many different ways, bro. I tried the budgeting thing, which I'm not saying budgeting is good. And I think that is a step into financial literacy, financial freedom. However, I was budgeting on $2,000 a month and it just didn't work because the money that I'd put to the side, I would then need it again. And then this whole thing's gone bad. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I remember I sat in the car with my cousin. I was like, we're going to start budgeting because we can't save. So we've done all the budget, but then 9 days till payday, I got no money. There's £500 there. I'm using it. And then I was getting nowhere. So for me, the thing that needed to change was I needed to earn more money before anything. And not before anything. I needed to have the mindset of having that financial literacy first and then supercharge my income in order to actually see results. Because I found that even when I was being disciplined, but my income wasn't that much, I wasn't seeing progress. I
understand. And that's your journey. And I think it's important for you to understand understand what works for you, what doesn't. But I'm glad that you also understand that budgeting is still an important part. You know how to do that. But like you're saying, you're also supercharging your income as well. So, so when it comes to building wealth, how do you plan to scale into the millions, and what key strategies are you kind of focusing on to achieve that goal?
So business is going to be my way to do that. And I think you've got to have assets like that generate money for you. And some people do the investing, some people do property. Business has been my route and it's going to be my route. So with the corporate engagements that I'm doing now, the most amazing thing I think that I've done is from early, I started believing greatness. And some of my mentors or some people that were ahead of me in the speaking game didn't understand. They were like, look, just build Frederick Afrifa. But I always knew, I think I need to build a business. Because as Frederick Afrifa, if my throat hurts, if I'm ill, I can't work, I can't get money. I need to build a machine that can operate without me. And that's exactly what we're doing with Believing Greatness, where people are buying, yes, into me as the entrepreneur, but they're buying into the product. And that can be delivered by someone else. So what I plan to do is just to keep growing within this corporate space. And because I'm really confident in the product, I just know that after a long enough time horizon, the growth will be there.
Yeah.
Even if we get 3 clients a year, within 10 years, we're just going to keep compounding, and then we're just going to keep getting improving. And that's how I plan to scale it into the millions, and to really just help be embedded within these organizations. And another thing that I'm trying to do, which is a little bit harder, is I'm trying to embed communication skills in certain education institutions as modules. So I'm in talks with a university for it to be a 0 credit module for everyone level 4. So first year of university, they have to do this, because again, at university, you learn all the technical knowledge, you might learn the skill, but then you can't speak. So what good is that?
Yeah. I think, look, communication, like I mentioned already earlier, is very important. And it is funny that we don't actually even do that at secondary school, college. It's not something that is taught to us, although we need it in so many kind of settings. If you're trying to, get a job at a company, you need to do that. If you're like trying to pitch, you're starting your own business and trying to get investors, you need that kind of cool skill. It seems like all the cool skills we don't get taught: financial literacy, communication, relationships. Oh man, like honestly, it's like you're just kind of just fend for yourself kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I do like that idea, and I think it's business is a good route. Like I've spoken to a lot of people on the podcast, especially financial advisors, and they've said that a lot of their clients, that's how they kind of made their money, was through business. Just because, of course, the more you put in, it's likely you could generate more by the effort that you kind of, and like you say, the value compounds in terms of skills. It's harder to do that in a job, because obviously somebody's budget, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, you're worth it or not, and there's all sorts of things. Whereas when you're kind of doing it yourself and you kind of figure it out, and you figure out how to make the money, it's easier just to replicate it constantly. So yeah, that's I like that. And in terms of financial habits, right, which have been the most effective for you in growing your business income? And how can anyone, regardless of their role, apply them to increase their earnings as well?
I think one of the best things that we do at Believe in Greatness is that we reinvest a hell of a lot back into the business. And I think whether you're a business owner or you're just a professional, reinvesting back into yourself, I think that's incredibly important. And yeah, we do that quite religiously, to the point where the money in my bank account is nowhere near the money in the business bank account.
Okay.
Nowhere near. And I'm proud of that, because I'm being very responsible. I'm thinking long term. The vast majority of the money that comes into the business, we keep it there and then we reinvest it back into the business. And I just pay myself a teeny weeny bit, because I just know that in the long run, we might have an exit, and that's when I'll be enjoying.
Yeah. And how important has that discipline been for you? It's so funny that you talked about budgeting, but now you're so disciplined now, because some people will see, oh, there's 20k in my business account, let me try and I don't know, slap that on a car or whatever. How's important has financial discipline been for you to have that delayed gratification and make sure that you're paying yourself what you need to survive on, but you're reinvesting the rest in the business?
It's so important to know yourself, bro. Similarly to with my personal finance, that I have a Lloyd's account that I forget exists. I just pay myself off it. With my business bank account, through Intuit QuickBooks, I know how much is on there, but I don't have visibility of my business account. My co-founder does. So I have visibility, so I know the money that's in there, but he deals with the finances. And we do that purposefully, because I don't want to start thinking about all the money that's in the business bank account, all the things I can do with it.
Okay.
I'm trying to say. So we have an accountant that does that deals with that kind of stuff. When we get invoices and stuff, my business partner Gordon deals with it. And the good thing about myself and Gordon is that we're very different. His background, he's a project manager in the city. I'm super creative, never had a corporate day in my life, but that's why it works so well. So I think my financial discipline comes from the fact that I know myself. And I know these are the things that would work for me. These are the things that don't work as well for me. Whereas some people are more in denial, or they just don't know themselves. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And they just think, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then they get tempted, and then things go downhill.
Yeah. Fair enough. Wow. No, honestly, this is the thing. I think it's very important. These skills, these life skills, are so important in different phases. Wherever you're working a job, wherever you're working a business, it's very important. If you're careless with money, generally speaking, right, that could leak into business.
100%.
Right? Because if you get desperate, you might be like, oh, okay, let me just pinch here, I'll replace it. And then that starts festering, and that's not kind of what you want to kind of do. Frederik, it's been a great conversation. We've covered so much. We talked about a lot. Really, really appreciate you. So talk to people about how you can kind of help them with their speaking and where people can find you.
Absolutely. So anyone watching this who is a professional, and I help, I guess, two different profiles of people. Number one, people that get anxious. People that whenever they have to engage with stakeholders, they don't do themselves justice. Maybe your technical knowledge and skill is a 9 out of 10. Your communication skills are a 3 out of 10. My job is to help your communication skills match your technical knowledge. And then on the other side, there are people that they're not scared when speaking, but they ramble on. They never get to the point. And even they don't do themselves justice when speaking and communicating. What I do is I help you increase your ability under pressure to be calm and speak as well as you would at the dinner table with your friends. Yeah. So whether you or your team wants to do that, please reach out to me on LinkedIn, Frederick Afrifa, or if you just Google my name, all the information would come up. Yeah. And that's what I've dedicated my life to. So if you're that kind of person, please do reach out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Frederick. I really appreciate you taking the time. You know, obviously you don't live in London, so I really appreciate you coming out of town and just sharing, you know, your story, sharing your experience on Apprentice, being really real and vulnerable about it all, you know, because I think it does really help people understand that, look, you know, you can change your life, and you change your life. Like, it's so amazing. And you've done this in a few years, right? You went from a place where you was a pro athlete, things were looking good, for it to kind of change for you, and then you've had to reinvent yourself and become a different person. Had to reinvent yourself a few times, because obviously reinventing yourself to become a speaker, and then reinvent yourself to be able to get onto the Apprentice. And it just shows the power of, you know, being resilient and having the right mindset. Question for you, actually, my final question before I ask you for your final words, right? What do you think gave you that ability to be able to reinvent yourself and just be like you say, have the audacity and just do it? Because not everybody will do it. And I'm trying to help people that want to do this change their life too. It's
a really good question. And it's something that I have been trying to figure out myself. And I think one of my superpowers is that I use the difficult times to fuel me. Whenever if I was to have a sales meeting with a big organization and they don't see the value, I get so angry that I just reach out to all of their competitors. That's the kind of person that I am. Do you know what I mean?
Love it.
When people don't believe in me, it gets me angry, and I use that energy to move forwards. That's the key. So a lot of people say that I inspire them, which is amazing. That's what I want to do. But now I want people to take it a step further. If you've heard this and you're inspired, use that energy today. Tomorrow morning, set an alarm for 5 a.m. Start earlier. Send out those emails. If you're looking for a job, be more creative with it. Go on LinkedIn. Ask someone that's already in the job role that you want to do. Message 20 of them on LinkedIn, 100 of them on LinkedIn. Ask them for their advice. Yeah. These are the things that I do when I'm upset, when I'm annoyed. I use that energy to move myself forwards.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Frederick. Honestly, it's been a great conversation with you, and I hope people that you've been inspired by this conversation. Do you have any final words for watchers and listeners?
Yes, final words. Pretty much reiterating everything we've spoken about. Thank you for this opportunity. And you might be, someone listening to this might be in their delivery driver phase. Where things were going well, they've hit rock bottom, or they might be in their Apprentice has just rejected me phase, when you thought you were just about to break through and you didn't. If you keep going, you keep growing. So please don't give up.
Thank you so much, Frederick. Really appreciate you featuring on the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast, and see you next week's episode.